Good morning. So you saw earlier in the first video the production possibilities curve, and on that curve I showed you what a movement was. Now, the production possibilities curve itself is that it's going to show us what can our economy make. So when it comes to this thing, there's going to be obviously our curve. Okay, we have our x-axis and our y-axis. You'll just label those whatever the question or problem presents to you, whether it's corn and tractors or robots or chickens or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so we can just call, something item y and item x. So that part really doesn't matter. So when it comes to the production possibilities curve or the production possibilities frontier, and yes, of course, it has two names, and that probably is frustrating with this course, is a lot of things will have multiple names. So when it comes to this curve itself, this is on the line. This line means efficiency. So first thing we need to talk about is there are 3 points. So when it comes to these 3 points, a point located inside the curve means that we are producing inside of what we could possibly make. So this inside point is inefficient. That means that either our materials, our people, our resources is not fully employed. And employed just doesn't mean work. Employed means also that it's happening, it's being used. So the first point is inside the curve. The next point is going to be on the curve. So any point that is on this curve means that we're operating at efficiency. So if we had, say, 100 of this, and we operated right here, this is actually a point on the curve, and it's efficient. It doesn't make a lot of sense that we make all of product Y and 0 product X, but we could if we wanted to. Say you're a command economy, and needed to switch real quickly, your production, something like that. So if we wanted to have allocative efficiency, here's another vocab term for you. Say if you divided this in half at 45 degrees, you get 50% on this side, 50% on that side, then we would be what we call allocatively efficient. Okay, so this is a point on the curve, which means we are efficient. So inside the curve, inefficient. On the curve, anywhere, means we're efficient, we're 100% employed, fictitiously of course. We're using all of our resources, our quantity and quality, our technology is great, we're using everything we can to the best of our ability. Okay. The third point is going to be outside the curve. Okay, so any point outside this curve is, and if you've ever seen that movie, what was it called, Avatar, with the big blue people. Okay, they had a crazy item they were looking for. It was a really very, very valuable rock, and they had the worst name ever. It was called unobtainium. So any point outside of our curve or beyond our frontier or beyond our possibilities of production, this is going to be unattainable. We can't make that much stuff. Okay, our boundary is just limited. Okay, with our people, resources, and technology. Okay, we would like to get this far, but that is what we call an unattainable goal. We can't get there. Now, how could we get there is the next question. So we're also going to have what is called our 3 keys. We have 3 keys. Okay, we have full employment, and resources or technology. Sorry, I wrote that wrong. Let me try that again. We have full employment, is one, resources is one, and technology is another. Okay, so think of it like this. We need people, full employment. This is in order to be efficient. We need all of our people working. Okay, our resources, this is our quality and quantity. That's Q and Q. Sorry, handwriting's not very good. Okay, so if all our people are working, our resources, like our water, our things from nature. Okay, so full employment, resources, and technology. I'm going to talk about technology a lot in economics, but what it does not mean technology as in phones and cameras and all kinds of cool like tech. It means how good we are. So technology can be if we give people coffee, if we give them education, if you take a lumberjack and they have an axe and you give them a chainsaw, then they would be able to cut more trees. Okay? So anytime we improve any of our three keys, so we get more people, we train our people better, we find more resources, we get more technology, training, better tools, learning how to use our tools, any of those things will lead to growth. So imagine everything inside of this curve is all the GDP we could make. So all this purple is GDP. Now, it's potential GDP. GDP that we can make now. Okay? So all this GDP that we can make right now is inside of here. Okay? So if we remember, that's gross domestic product, anything made in our economy at this moment in a particular year. Okay? So all this is GDP we could make right here. Now think about the early colonies, and they had a natural barrier, didn't they? These are my mountains. So they had the mountains on one side, they had the ocean on the other side. So the colonies had natural barriers, didn't they? Well, we can call some of these mountains green too. Lots of trees out there. Alright. If you have to remind yourself, sometimes you can draw a little shark in the water. Making economics notes can be fun. That is a terrible shark. Okay, so imagine this as the early colonies. They have a certain amount of trees and a certain amount of farmland, a certain amount of technology, everything. So one day someone said, man, I wonder what's on this other side of that mountain. And someone was crazy enough to go cross the Appalachians. And what did they find on the other side? Well, they found resources, didn't they? They found animals. That led to fur trapping industries. And of course, they were Native Americans, and that was their land, but we tried to live in harmony with them. But then Andrew Jackson and things happened also. Sorry, that was terrible. So now, if they find more people, more resources, or new technology, say they learn some skills from the natives, say they find animals they had never seen before, any of those are going to lead to growth. So what does growth mean? Well, what was once unattainable, we're going to have a rightward shift, and now we can make new GDP. So because everything was greener on the other side, what economic growth means is how much productive capacity you have. So now, say we were making $1,000 in year one of GDP, and that's in purple. Now we add full employment, resources, or technology. What's that going to equal? We have GDP in purple plus GDP in green equals current GDP. So, with all this together, you add together the green and the purple, and we have economic growth, don't we? So this is how nations or economies can grow, by adding people, resources, or technology. Sorry, there's keyboards in the way. Okay. So here we have it. The production possibilities curve, or frontier, it has two different names. We have our 3 points. A point of production. Sorry, I should have said that earlier. So we have 3 points of production, and we can only have one at a time. We can either be not making all the GDP we possibly could, we can be making the most GDP we're capable of making, or we can find new people, resources, technology, and we can reach new levels of GDP that we had not reached before. So say you add the purple and the green together, and we get 1,500 in year 2 of GDP. So when it comes to the PPF or PPC, we're going to have our 3 points, our 3 keys, economic growth, and this is how economies can grow.